All right, so now we're gonna. Well, I will just run through just like a gauntlet of horror films. I should say like a triplet of horror films. Like they just call this a triple feature of sorts, right? So one of which technically isn't a horror, but the way how they kind of pitch it and the way how it kind of presents itself, you could kind of think that it is a horror. But anyway, so that will be Old. Like I will finally share my thoughts on that show
Oh
because I
boy.
remember a
All
few
right, so
weeks
you finally
ago.
watch it.
Yeah,
You
you
finally
you,
watch
you
it.
talked about it, try to be as vague as possible, right? In my case, I will go a little spoilery, but not too much, right?
Yeah, yeah, we can talk
Um,
about it full spoil. I mean, that movie that out a hot minute now.
I know, but yeah, I just finally got around to watching it. Speaking of finally getting around to watching, Candyman actually came out on VOD way
Okay,
sooner than I expected. So I checked it out. I will share my thoughts on that,
okay. I
and
should have
I
watched that.
will
I
end the
didn't take the time
horror
to watch it.
trilogy of sorts with serious like. I thought dude, like I thought you was like really excited to watch Candyman. Like I mentioned it to you, Candyman was coming out.
Here's the problem.
Anywho,
I so sick of these what do you call
re,
it?
re, re, re- soft reboots.
No, this is my TV now. My screen too small. Like I really like
Yeah,
real itching
I
for
know.
this thing now. Like I straight up look. I have a this thing. Like Dune came out in the States. Sorry, in Europe, and I got a copy of it, but I don't want to watch it on the small shitty TV.
I don't want to watch Dune on no TV neither.
Exactly,
Or
dog.
my
Like is
laptop. Like
exactly. So
it's a
like,
big
nah,
screen
man.
film. Come on, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
but
all
I
of them.
feel the
All of them
pain.
shows like that. So
Mm.
I figure out a way. Yeah.
Yeah, and last thing last though, Malignant, which is
Sure.
I would say just right off the bat, compared, out of all these three, this is one I would love to see on the big
Right.
screen, right? But I'll
Right.
get
So
to that in a
yeah,
bit.
this on HBO. I actually did watch this because I really wanted to see what the hell it was about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to
So
hear
yeah, I
your
did watch
thoughts
it.
on
It's
this show, man.
ridiculous.
I laugh, and so I kind of give myself out. It
Yeah.
is, but in a good way, in my opinion, right? So let's talk together about Old Boy,
Right. Sure.
and why Old just does not work. So
Yeah. You know.
yep.
As I said, so I was relatively charitable towards old. I can't remember what score I gave it. I gave it like a 6 out of 10. That was like very fucking high for something like that, right?
I know, right?
Yeah, but the reason I give it a chance and I give it a quote unquote a bly as the kids say, um, is because at least it felt like an effort. That's all I'll say on the part of M Night. Unlike Glass, which by the way is ass. We need to remind everyone, Glass is ass.
And yes, it still is. It still is.
Yeah, but I felt a real effort was made with this. Like it's there's a day there. I can't be mad at any of it. It was like, okay, it doesn't work, but it's not this is complete wasting goddamn time with your bullshit, M Night. Stop doing that nonsense. I didn't feel like that with this, to be honest. That's all I'll say.
Mm.
It had a decent idea. It does work, but there's a decent there, right? So it's in the same vein as, well, for me personally, Signs or The Village. It's does. Yeah,
Well,
I don't
more
think
more
Signs
the village than signs, in my opinion.
more The Village and Signs. Yeah, let's be clear. Yeah, more The Village and Signs. But at no point I felt like this was, an effort was made. That's all I'll say. Right, and M Night is one of the few filmmakers, right, especially nowadays. Everybody bitching about Disney and whatnot. He's one of the few filmmakers who had the freedom to put forward his vision and whatnot. So I think that is why I appreciate it a little more. Like, look, I'm not on some anti-Disney bandwagon, but I am, missing the whole filmmaker with their vision, author theory bullshit stuff, right? I like that bullshit to be unfair, right? So that is it. So that's why I think I give it more of a chance than other people did. But anyway, how you just give me a rundown. What you think about it?
All right, so I understand where you're coming from, and as I normally do, I look at other people's reviews, right? Not have them basically tell me what to think, but just kind of curious to see how people responded to it, right? And people were pretty much the same way as you. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of bad in it, but they were like, at least like there was an effort made and all that kind of stuff. That, and for me, like personally, I could see that for other shows, but I just wish I could see it for this, right? So just to get out of the way, right? The acting, or at least the actors, do their thing, right? What they're given to do isn't well written or well thought of, but at least they did the best with what they were
Right.
given. I'll give them that, right?
Right.
Cinematography and thing was fine as well, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what's going on, in these characters on this beach and trying to figure out what's going on, right? So my issues, boy, were just everything else, right? And it's only after the fact I found out that it's actually based off of a graphic novel called Sandcastle, a French graphic novel or something like that, right? So maybe everything that we saw here was exactly how it was in the comic. I doubt it, but
no, for what I understand, it's better than the comic. Like, way better. Like, the comic is ass. The comic is real shit. But this was okay. Like, for what I understand. So,
Right.
I heard that. So, that's why I hear it's kind of improving. It's kind of like, I remember when Aronofsky did Noah. It's like that now. It's, they I don't think they had a story and then a filmmaker picked it up, but, like, it was his brother. I don't think in this case is he related to the graphic novelist, and like in the case of Aronofsky. But it's something similar. Like they made a comic is right, and a lot of French graphic novels is its own thing, and it's up to you to think if you like it or not. Well,
right.
Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So issues that I had, right? First off, dialogue, by I was reminded rather quickly of how Shyamalan's expositional style of having characters speak there, you know what I mean? So characters will literally say things, I mean, that's on their mind, or like there will be a character that is basically there to more or less let people know, or more or less answer the question that we wanted, who these figures are. And like case in point, there's a kid who shows up to like these three adults and asks them, hey, what's your name and what do you do? And all three of them just basically say, my name is this and I do that. As opposed to the show just kind of showing us who they are or just having it in some random conversation. No, let's just have a random character come and ask these new characters we've seen here, hey, what do you do? Who are you? Who are you? But never why we should care about them, right? So that's that. Also, premise-wise, it's very interesting, right? Very frightening, I should say, right? It's very good for a short film, or like a Twilight Zone.
Right, it's a Twilight Zone episode, right? Exactly.
Right. But stretched out over the course of 108 minutes, by
right?
Yeah, that's 108 minutes and a bit. It's like, dude, like there could have been so much done in it, where maybe they would. I mean, never so often you will see, some like, jaw-dropping thing or whatever it is like that, but none to the point where I was like, okay, this is why I should care to it. And this leads to like probably the biggest problem I had though, just characters just doing things. And okay, you can understand, alright, they're getting old and everybody have their own sort of like emotional or mental defect or whatever it is, or physical defect or whatnot. But why are characters just doing these random weird acts? Or just they just make these weird calls now, and the show displays stuff like, oh my god, don't you understand how, like, don't they understand that they're going off, they're going crazy, you know what I mean? Because everybody just make all these weird unconscious calls, right? And then they'll just kind of justify it in the weirdest way, and you just say like,
here's the
I
thing.
don't understand why or what's going on here.
Again, it's a shame that in the hands of a better filmmaker we could not get this one, because how I feel about that is that I kind of get what you're trying to go for, which is, look, think of decisions over a long period of time. Because remember, the whole point is that they aging super fast or something along those lines, right? Remember that was the whole idea. And just think of what kind of decisions you're going to make 10 years from now or 10 years prior, and how the kind of decisions you're making in life now. That's how I think about it. It's something that if it were to extend the decision-making period over a long period of time, you'd realize how weird it is. Like how weird the decisions are because time passes. But in the context of the show, because it's direct biological aging, it don't make any sense. That's the problem. That whole premise, very inconsistent. Because it's something I kind of defend, because that's how I felt about it. It's like, okay, all right, I see what you're doing. Kind of.
Yeah. But because you're dealing with groups of people, right? And then, just individuals. So, like, one individual, something will happen to them. And then it will just cut to somebody else, like, 2 minutes later. Something happening to them. But they never go back to what happened to the people before. And, like, so case in point, right? We have couples, right? I think we have, like, about 3-4 couples, right? I think 2 of them have, or 3 couples have kids, right? So one couple have like a son and daughter. All of a sudden they grow up, right? All of a sudden they have 16-year-old bodies and stuff like that. As well. So there's that going on, right? And then you have the daughter of a couple and the son of a couple in a tent, and they're just kind of talking about, oh, well, what are we going to do and all that kind of stuff, and how are we going to deal with this, right? And then like 2 minutes later, the girl get knocked up. And then literally, there's a point where one of the adults comes to help to help the girl give birth, right? And then the child dies, right? And swear to God, somebody see this off screen in the movie, yeah? And I paused the show, and I just had to get up and walk and shake my head, because I will confess I was kind of like, nodding off on and off in the show because of how I just find like I just didn't care. So just things happened and I just got bored, right? But I had to play that scene again though, and somebody say the child died from lack of attention. And I nearly gave up on that movie, I nearly gave up. So okay, the child dies a minute after they're born, right?
That's a real thing.
But as opposed to explaining why or how it happened, it's just, well,
I know. But again, because I find myself kind of defending this, because look, that's apparently a real thing. There's something called SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, and apparently if you don't hug up your child, and I forget, it had some experiment in Russia somewhere where a bunch of children wasn't paid attention to, and a set of them dead. So it's supposedly a real thing. So I could kind of understand that because of the whole time thing and the aging thing now.
Right.
Like, kind of.
Yeah, but it's just that things just move
I get what you try to do.
But what is the funny thing, right? As dull of an experience the movie was, right? These things just happen so fast now, and you're trying to like mentally make sense of what's going on, but then you will jump to something else. And then even worse now, people will forget about things that happened 2 minutes ago. You know what I mean?
No, but that again, bullshit. No, it's not well made. I'll admit, but it's
not well written.
Sense.
Like it really should have. I don't know. I just probably like 2-3 more rewrites and things would just
exactly, because it had.
The
problem is that it had to flow together. Because I'll admit, here's the problem. Because the premise is so counterintuitive, right? We don't understand how time could play itself out in wherever, right? In some short period of time or wherever it is, right? I get that. But you have to give that sense of it. And that, again, it's a shame that a better filmmaker couldn't get a hands on this now. I don't know who. Like, look, whoever. Is the man idea. Sorry to say, but some people, it was only the idea could get it done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I get what he was going for, though. Like, I see it, but, like, nothing working now. Like, I get it, but it didn't work it.
Yeah.
But I get it.
Yeah.
And it's really a shame.
Yeah, and it just makes things look and feel so awkward, boy. So characters would just kind of see things, and I know deep down it makes sense for the cast and the crew, right? But for me, just seeing this and just these random events happening, it just makes no sense, and just the decision making just made no sense. So at the end of the day, I just wound up not caring at all about the characters there. And then there was like this twist that wasn't. Go on.
Okay, so I won't go as far as saying this, but it has that borderline experimental nature to it, right? Where because of the premise, it relies entirely on that premise, And if you're not really intuiting that premise, which I'll admit, good filmmakers need to make you intuit something that's counterintuitive very quickly. That is a job, right? That is the only job, right? If they don't do that, they fail, right?
Yeah.
And Shyamalan just didn't do that. He just didn't give you that semblance of how to translate that idea. I'll admit it's very difficult to do, but he has to translate that idea, and he didn't translate it. Even though I was following it, sir, because like I watched it and I was like, all right, this making sense. I get that. You already do like the baby thing, like, oh yeah, that baby thing makes sense to me because of the time. Again, when you have a counterintuition of time, like compared to say another movie that have the same very similar problem, but in my opinion, a slightly better filmmaker makes it work. Right? This is Christopher Nolan and Tenet. Now, in my opinion, Tenet works. Like, in my opinion, I thought Tenet made a lot of sense for what it was. I had problems with it, but it made sense, right? In terms of what it was trying to do and tell, and what you know about physics and what you know about certain ideas, it made sense to me. Like, I could have what you call the headcanon for it reasonably well. That's why I defend the movie so much, because it made sense in that way. It's also playing with time, right?
Yeah.
Backward and forward, and how forward and backward behaviors have to do if you engage in the strategies. But they did a slightly better job than it. I mean, I suppose this is my hot take, but this is, this movie, Tenet succeeds where this movie kind of fails, right?
Yeah, well, at least they make time, or they make time a really entertaining and fascinating thing. Here is just, well, we have no clue or semblance of what's going on, though. I just tell them, well, it's
Right.
time, and that's the reason why all this weird stuff's happening. But it's just, again, the decisions that the characters make are just so stupid, or just make no sense at all. There. And then another thing, like, I don't know, maybe it's different for you, but for me, I just found it weird, though. What was with that camera work? What was with like the camera moving away and back and away and back? Like is it a budgetary thing? Is it that you want to tease the audience? You want to wait? They want to be like, oh, what's happening?
Again, I don't want to dog on M. Night. The man had a career, but M. Night is still
I know
a
you
second.
have a career, but
M. Night is still, but let us admit it. I'm gonna say this: M. Night is still a second-year film student. Let me admit that shit now. Right, so he just do
that
these
look
obvious,
real amateurish. But
he just do this right. He just do these obvious camera movements. Again, I don't have a problem with it per se because I somebody talking bullshit on the internet, but he makes obvious camera movements and then he will to fit the story, not fit the narrative, and it kind of works. Right, but of course, for the sake of this, the whole idea is time and looking at things from a distance, and you have to see it as a whole, because that's when your life just makes sense as a whole. Like I get what you're going for, it still don't work. So whatever.
It feel to me like he watched some Jean-Luc Godard, like he watched Weekend, like he watched that shot that we studied, the one with the 8-minute traffic jam.
Right.
Because even in that movie, they do that same thing too, where the camera will just pan and show you something random while somebody talking off screen and then go back.
Yeah, the man is a second-year film student. I look at that way it is. You're getting where you're getting. I can't be mad at that, personally. Like, I personally not mad at that. Like, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, but it's a thriller dread, so, is it that you're trying to, like, make the audience fright? Like, oh, it's not about it's about what we're not seeing and all that kind of stuff. But again,
look,
you move the camera back
it feels borderline experimental.
Doing that 360.
It feels... Okay, so I know, seeing what you complaining about, I now understand why it is I give it the score it did, right? Because, yes, it's stuff that I can appreciate where you're trying to square your arty bullshit with your real world stuff, like, instead of your commercial stuff. And again, because M. Night is a man who kind of still relatively independent from a creative standpoint, I don't think he's not in room or anything like that, but
you're good.
He's not that man. I didn't put him there.
Yeah,
but,
he's no Tommy Wiseau. Thank God.
No, I still think he's a reasonably, talented filmmaker in my opinion. But you can see the problem, right? You can see why the man, just getting to space and wherever it is. And as I say, you have a lot of people who don't tell him no. That's the basically the kind of core problem with him in my opinion, right? But it depends on who telling you no and why. If you have a big corporation who just tell you no all the time, that might be an issue, maybe. But in my case, I don't really have a problem with it. In his case, I don't really have a problem with it either. So it's whatever. But I now notice why it is I now not really regretting the score given what you complaining about. Because what you complaining about, I didn't have a problem with. Right? Which is, I get what you was going for.
Alright.
So now in retrospect, I actually do hate my score. Right? Because I thought my score was like, hey, by real generous to this movie, boy. Right? And especially for somebody who hated Glass as much as I did, I thought I'd be like real jumping on the throat for this now. But like, no, I get what you're trying to go for. It works. It does work to a certain extent. But whatever, we'll see.
Well, this is quite interesting, just so you are still fair and charitable to the movie. I just genuinely couldn't care less. So that's to wrap up. Couldn't care about the characters. Couldn't care about what they were going through. I understand that it's a weird situation, but that doesn't give the film the right to have characters just do dumb and weird things just because. Like, overall in general, this should have been a short film. Like, just straight up, should have been a short film, not 108-minute film, right? And just to close off with that, now, just gonna throw this joke that I make on Facebook, right? So there's a character in the movie who says that 60 minutes equate to 2 years, right? So
Right.
this is a 108-minute film, so that's roughly 3 years and 9 months. I am saying personally to y'all listening to this, don't waste 3 years and 9 months of your life watching this movie, right? So
Right.
my rating, 2 out of 5, I want back my money.
Alright, well, okay.
I want my money back. I want my
Alright,
money
no
back.
problem. I don't know. It's a movie I appreciate. That's all I'll say. You know, it's the same reason why I still defend the Wachowskis and their filmmaking. Like I there's only really one film of theirs I genuinely don't like. But I find myself defending that. Same thing with this. This one is like, not so bad. Like whatever. Again.
Okay. Teach his own, right?
So
Right, so moving on now, let's talk about Candyman, the long-awaited sequel to, you know, the cult classic, I should call it, Candyman, right, from 1992. This technically is a direct sequel to that film, right? So it excludes the other two films, which I still haven't seen, nor do I have any intentions of seeing, right? So, Ricardo, I know you didn't see it, right? So I'll just kind of kick things off with the original film, the OG film, right? I was and still not as big on the first film like a lot of people are. Like I know a lot of people regard it as, you know, a horror classic and, you know, one of the best horror movies ever made.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah,
who the characters,
yeah.
You know?
No, yeah, it's one of those that work only because of the racial dynamics of it. Like it's like, oh shit, it not only is it a black film, it's ostensibly a very black conscious film, like because it really talks about race, who Candyman is, and that whole history and that whole nasty business involving how he died and whatnot, right? And then what Candyman kind of represents. It makes perfect sense. It's Clive Barker. Clive Barker's own personal experience, I'm sure, fed into that as a writer himself. By the way, speaking of that, they totally need to remake Nightbreed, right? I mean, Nightbreed was kind of fucking awesome, right? Anybody remember Nightbreed?
I know about all of the film. I still haven't seen it, but since you tell me great, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I remember like really loving the film as a kid. Anyway, he's one of these people who it worked because of that, and that's why it got lie in the public consciousness.
Right.
But yeah, it's a film overall I find doesn't really hold up all that well, but it is. I understand why somebody will call it a horror classic, quote unquote.
Yeah, and I do agree. It doesn't quite hold up as all that. It's very, very early 90s, right down to the Philip Glass score, which, I mean, the score is good, but it is so reminiscent of other, late 80s to early 90s horror films, right? But just the character of Candyman himself, you know, played by Tony Todd, is iconic, I must say. And you know, it scared people to the point that, you know, we ever so often we just free to go to a mirror and say his name 5 times, right? Which I'll bring up.
The man had real bees in himself, yeah.
Yeah, he had real bees in his mouth, right? I didn't know that till after the fact. Like, jeez, and it makes for easily the most disgusted scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, but it have an interesting piece of trivia about that and everything. It's like,
okay, I know you're talking about it in terms of the bee stings and how much how much Tony would be compensated, you know. That's great. Yeah. But yeah, I actually recapped this show and I was like, okay, yeah, this was actually much better than expected, though, but still not in absolute love of it, right? But this show here, this sequel, if you will, kind of follows up right after it, but it does its own thing, right? And you know, it makes sense seeing that one of the writers of this show is the boy Jordan Peele, right? And as we know, this is the directorial debut of Nia DaCosta, sorry.
Nia DaCosta, right?
Nia DaCosta, sorry. Right. And I would say this right off the bat that she does an excellent job here, though. It has a sort of like indie art house contemporary vibe to things, though. Like there'll be like these shots where they just kind of linger on for like a period of time. It's like, oh, all right, I just kind of bask in the environment, in the atmosphere of this shot alone, though. Some great shot composition, you know what I mean? Just some excellent cinematography and stuff like that, right? So yeah, she come through really, really good here, though. And I would say, though, as far as an update of the original film, it works as well, right? But what they do very clever is that it's... All right, so what is it about, right? So it centers on the character of Anthony McCoy, right, who is played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, right?
Morpheus,
Yeah, yeah. Well, Morpheus to be or Morpheus question mark, right? If we're talking about Matrix
Right.
Resurrections, right? So
Right.
he lives in Chicago, right? He doesn't live in the exact area where the events of the first movie stood out, though. But he is inspired by it, right? He somehow becomes inspired by the character, by the myth, I should say, by the legend of Candyman. That he
Right.
decides to do this whole art piece thing, like different pieces, right, based off of the Candyman legend, right? But what they do rather clever here is that it's not actually the Tony Todd version, but it's a guy who lived in that area too, but he rocked, a similar coat and, has a hook for, well, not, he has a hook, but not a hook for a hand, basically, like how Tony Todd's character was. And quite surprisingly, he actually like gives candy out though, like literal candy to kids though.
Right.
Which I thought was like a real smart call because like when you really think about like, the first movie, it's like, but wait now, but alright, I understand, the bees and all that kind of stuff, but why they call him Candyman? It's like he was giving out candy. When this one's like, no,
Right.
he actually does give out candy. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right?
Okay, so here's the thing with Candyman. In the sequels, they do kind of explain it. Like the sequels, they skip. They kind of explain it because when you find out how Candyman was killed, you learn the reason. Like so.
Okay, I
that's
assume
where,
it was just a name, like a nickname somebody called. when
right.
he was getting
Right.
killed,
It's how he was killed. It's how he was killed. Like
Right, and I
because
know he's
that's why-
killed, but I just assume
Right.
that somebody coined the name while he was being tortured or whatever.
Well, yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's the second film or the third film. I forget which one.
Okay. Yeah, so I thought that was really clever now. And what happens in a nutshell though is that while the exhibition is going on and all that now, Anthony becomes slowly obsessed by Candyman. But what happens also is that he gets bitten by by a bee, right? And
Right.
on his hand, right? How ironic, right? And he starts to pick at it, and it gets to the point where his hand like literally looks like this gigantic scab now. So yeah, the movie is going for body horror as well too. So like yeah,
Right,
he's slowly going mad. He's going just obsessed over this Candyman character. And yes, as you would expect, idiots now, yes, the idiots do the whole like we go by the mirror and see the name 5 times, and then we get
Right.
the Candyman figure comes out, right? And what they do quite interesting here compared to the first film is that he is invisible pretty much, except to those who are targeted by him, right? So you have these great moments where characters are being like sliced and diced, but you're not seeing the person who's actually doing it, right? I forgot to mention his girlfriend Brianna, who's played by Tiana Paris. You know what I mean? From
right.
from WandaVision, she's there. I forgot she was in this movie too, to be honest, right?
Right.
And she's just like aware of what's going on with Anthony, right? With him kind of slowly losing his mind, and it all relates to the legend of Candyman and why it's relevant. Spoiler alert, in today's times, right? So just to jump into that now, because they really go out of the way to show why Candyman is relevant in this era, right? So yeah, you know what I mean, seeing that it's Jordan Peele and just given the angle that they go for. Yeah, they add some social commentary into it, right? Similar to the first film, but in this case, it's a lot about police brutality. That's really one of the major themes being addressed here, right? They don't like blatantly tell you it's that, right? But they do blatantly show you that yes, they are crooked cops. They are crooked white cops in the area, and yeah, you know what I mean. So they lean on that, right? But what they do very well here is that they show really that, because at first you're wondering, okay, well, this is a new Candyman, right? But technically it's a sequel to the first film. And also what they do very well now is that they actually tell what happened with the I forgot the girl's name. She's played by Virginia Madsen in the first film, right? So they actually have like an urban legend involving her, but it has nothing to do with Candyman, but it has to do, if you remember for the first film, the bonfire. Remember, there was a moment where she was trying to save this kid from this baby boy, right? That Candyman stole, kidnapped, sorry. But in the legend, and the way how it's told, I thought this was a great call. Now they make it out like she just suddenly went mad and she just kidnapped the child and all that kind of stuff. Now, so this really shows again just how legends are twisted and turned and adapted for modern times. Now they also do this really cool thing where you see it in the trailer now, where they use like these this puppets. Like I forget the style of puppetry it is, but the
That's like the kind of weird shadow puppet thing like they did
shadow
in Harry
puppets.
Potter.
That's it. Yes, yes,
Well,
yes.
like the shadow puppets in Harry Potter, like that. Remember
Yes.
Harry Potter, the seventh film had this really cool puppet sequence.
Yeah,
I saw some
it's
clips.
that. It's that. It's exactly
cool.
that. Yeah,
Nice one.
And,
Okay, I like that. That's cool. I
yeah,
think that's
and
one in the ad or something, like one of the ads
Yeah,
with
it
the
wa-
promo material. Right.
it was in the promos. It was in the promos. Yeah. And
Okay,
it's
right.
it's
Yeah, that's what I
great,
saw it. All right, cool.
yeah, it's a great narrative device to show you. So we're not gonna go back in time to show you exactly what happened in '92, even though there's like a really clever moment where they have an audio recording of a recording that that same character did. 'Cause if you remember, she was interviewing these two black women who were working in this school, I believe it was, or hospital, whatever it was, and one of them was talking about, oh, there was this character called Candyman, right? They actually lift that dialogue, and Yaya's character was actually like listed. I thought it was really cool, man. But yeah, that shadow puppetry stuff though worked though. It made it unique. It gave it its own, feel now. You know what I mean? But just in terms of just to get it good out of the way, right? I thought like acting wise, everybody came through, did their thing. Yaya was fantastic as Anthony. Tiona did her part as Brianna, and like I thought that the supporting cast was great as well. We even have Coleman Domingo, who I didn't even know was in the show, right? He pretty much plays the guy who starts the journey, starts Anthony's journey into who this Candyman character was, right? And I love how they again just explore the legend of him, right? And they do it in a really, really clever way now, in the sense that you'll understand, oh, this is why this character exists, and this is why he's been pretty much a part of urban folklore, I should say, over, ever since the first one died, right? Yes, I say first one because, slight spoiler, there's others, right? But it's the reasoning behind those characters becoming the character of Candyman that I thought worked as well, too. So, as far as, like, opening up the world of the mythos of the character, that was really fascinating, too. Like, I remember that was an aspect of the first film, right? So, all that aside, though, right? And again, as I say before, direction is strong, cinematography, right? If I have some major gripes with the show, and I do, I felt like there was a bit of identity crisis involved, right? So what I mean is that, all right, yes, I know Jordan, I know the people involved in terms of writing. I know they're well into horror films, right? And I know that they, ever since Get Out, right, they're trying to do this sort of like appropriate subversion of horror movie, subgenres and tropes, right? But I felt here it was just like a mishmash of just different tropes and different subgenres just punched together into this one film, right? And it's even worse now because the film clocks in at about an hour and a half thread. So you're doing a little bit of body horror, you're doing a little bit of, the main character goes psycho, and you even do the thing where he's in his room drawing all these weird figures and going nuts and, acting all crazy and all that kind of stuff. They do that. They do the psychological horror, they do the supernatural horror, they do the, oh, hey, we're touching on social issues here, you know what I mean? They just do a lot, man. It just got to a point where I was like, and that, like, it did feel so much like a horror fan making a film, as opposed to like a director with a singular vision as to what it is. Well, in this case, she wanted. It just felt like, oh, this is the type of horror I like. This is the type of horror I like. I just want to put all that in my movie. You know what I mean? So it just kind of comes off a little unfocused, right? And speaking of unfocused, I felt like the story wasn't really so much on, the Candyman figure himself. If you remember in the first movie, not to say that Tony Todd was prominent, right? But when he was there, right? He was a figure. In this one, it was the illusion of the figure, or, oh, if you're not careful, he will show up. And when he does, it's just very occasional, very spotty when he shows up. It's not really about him or his intentions. It's just, oh, when he's going to pop up and who's the idiot that's going to call his name. And then, well, slight spoiler, will Yaya become that character, right? So yeah, that was a kind of letdown for me there. Like I thought like it was going like, Candyman, again, he's the villain, right? But it just felt more like an afterthought at times. Like, oh well, all right, well, is maybe the villain is Anthony, or maybe it's this person, right? Or maybe it's the cops. You know what I mean? It was just all over the place. And then there's a reveal which I'm not gonna spoil though, which was just so cliche though. Yeah, that and all too just had my kind of warning. Well, okay, well, who it is the real villain in this movie? You know what I mean? Like, is it
Right.
Candyman? You know? And then, well, a couple more things I will say before I get to rate it now. And while I do understand the relevance of making the character, relevant, like, I should say, like, prominent, integral to, modern day culture and all that kind of stuff, especially in the African American communities. Like, I understand that, right? I do feel like it's almost like, how to say, it was a perfect example. Remember the Babadook, right? From 2014, right?
Right.
Remember all of a sudden the Babadook became this LGBTQ icon just because.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't
something
really.
like
I couldn't
that then.
follow. Yeah, I can follow the logic of that. Like, I
don't even
had
know
to give
neither.
I had to give it a rewatch.
Yeah,
like,
and,
as
and
to
you can't
why
tell me,
people
oh,
do
it's
this.
coming out the closet. Like, it can't be that. It can't be as,
Right, I
as
hope
basic
not,
as that, right?
Right. Okay.
Because I love the Babadook, but every time I watch it, I'm like, well, how? I don't see the connection.
Right.
I really don't see the connection at all outside of hiding in the closet or coming out. That's what's
Right.
but
Right.
I don't think it's something that simple. But yeah, to me,
I mean,
somebody
somebody.
makes no
I
sense.
had to ask, like, why it be, because I really forget the reason. Like, I don't have the intuitive connection for that. But I'm sure somebody could one of my friends or whoever could tell me, like, oh, okay, that's why. All right.
Right. So here now with this movie now, they try to paint him as not so much a villain, but more representative of the time. So every time that there's black oppression or subjugation, someone dies and becomes the Candyman and seeks revenge, right? And the only
Right.
way for this character to pretty much exist, if you remember for the first film, is through word of mouth, is through the passing of this legend, you know what I mean? Warning, kids and
Right,
stuff to
right.
be careful, right?
Like, why you say the name, because, like, who they talking about, and yeah. Right.
Exactly, right? Which for me, I always felt was a kind of like if I have a nitpick, right? Like I understand the gimmick, right? You want the, like, for the first film, you want, like, when the people, like, when you leave the movie now, oh, you know what I mean? So the next time, you look at the mirror, you don't do this or else, right? But still, like,
Yeah.
given the story of how he becomes who he becomes, right? This is coming from somebody who haven't watched the sequels, so forgive me, right? You still kind of, like, for me, I still couldn't help but kind of wonder, but so how these rules happen with the whole saying his name 5 times and then he comes out.
Right.
I understand it's a horror thing. You kind of have to go with it, with the genre of horror, right? It's things that, there's times where it's like, okay, well, it's not about the actual logic. It's just, all right, just go with it. It's a monster. It's not real. But still, given the way how he dies, it's just like, well, all right, well, he dies. So, all right, so was there a mirror involved? So why when I see his name 5 times now, he suddenly shows up and kills me? I don't understand, right? So just one of those things. You either go with it or you don't, right? And this show doesn't even explore that neither. It just kind of explores the legend around it. But still, just to wrap up now, you're kind of wondering if he's meant to be somewhat of a, not so much of a figure, but more of like a hero in a sense. Like, oh, well, you know what I mean, when times get rough for black people, there will be a Candyman to somewhat save us or something like that.
Right.
It's kind of weird, right? Because, a majority of the victims, by the way, are white, right? Which I feel is appropriate. Is intentional, right? But there's a moment where literally some black people got killed too, right? And it's off of doing the same thing. Go in the mirror, say his name 5 times now. So it kind of clouds the whole, him being established as this hero or this, iconic figure in the black community, in a sense that which this movie is trying to promote him as, right? So it just kind of makes things, or at least the message, just kind of convoluted and unfocused in my opinion, man. So so overall, this wasn't a terrible film though. Like, I do appreciate the effort in terms of updating the film and making it modern and making it fresh and relevant. I do appreciate the effort put into expanding the mythos and just basically saying that out for every generation you'll have this figure. But still, it kind of works in horror movie logic, where it's like you're not really supposed to ask why when you go to a mirror and see his name 5 times why he comes out. You're not supposed to ask that. It's a horror film, buy into it, right? But it's just made worse now when you want to add in the social commentary, and then unfortunately they just really make it so on the nose now. So it's like, all right, I understand. Okay, crooked cops, I get 2020. All right, George Floyd. Right. Cool. Right. I get. But oh gosh, like, make me scared there. Don't make me. in a nutshell, it's like it's a woke horror movie though, and I do applaud the effort of making it woke though. But at the same time, it's like, but still like. It's a
Yeah,
horror
the,
film,
yeah,
right? Like scare my
it had
bro,
a,
like scare
yeah,
my.
the logic had a flow.
Don't make you can make me think, you know, but at the same time scare my bro. And oftentimes I felt like, you know, even though you do get some really gory kills, though it still didn't. It wasn't like leaning towards the horrific aspect of it. It was more on the
Right.
socially conscious side of it, right? So it was just really really unfocused, unfortunately, right? But I do applaud the effort, though, and you know I would like to see, you know, a sequel of this in the near future, right? Regardless of the flaws that I mentioned, right? So
Okay.
rating wise, I will still give this a strong 3.5 out of 5, man. It's still worth checking out. It's just I felt like the messages were very heavy handed though, and I felt like in terms of what style of horror it is, it was just sort of all over the place. It was just trying to be a lot but not be any specific thing really, right? But again, I do applaud the effort in terms of making this character relevant in these times. And yeah, I mean, again, I mean, I would love to see a sequel for this one day, right? So, yeah, I mean, hey, you know what I mean? Old school horror films gain the soft reboot. This one is up there, man. But it's just tonally and topically, it just should have been more focused, man.
Yeah, I mean, not as good as say, not as good as oh god, what's the movie? Not as good as something like Suspiria, but good still.
Well, here's the thing. I if you remember, I did not care for Suspiria at all. Like,
Really,
I
you don't like the new one?
No,
Okay,
because,
I remember digging it.
yeah, 'cause I just felt like okay, okay, fine, you're not remaking Suspiria, right? Fine, but
Right.
it just felt like it was just about something totally different, and
Okay, no
not
problem.
about this school, this ballet school, and witches. It just felt like it was just a metaphor for something way different, you know?
I don't remember. I can't remember our conversation about it, but I do remember you kind of liking it. I remember digging it for what it was.
I really wanted to like Suspiria, boy, but it was just, I don't know, like, it's just what it really was about, just took about. Like, it was just like, I don't know, like, what's the point? That was the point, right? So,
Right, no problem.
yeah, I mean, I would still recommend checking it out, though, especially if you're a fan of the first film, though. It may feel a little too woke for some viewers, though. And I have a feeling like this will already divide, like, I have a feeling this probably already, like, divided audiences. Like, some people want to get the good old-fashioned scares, but they don't really get that. But other people might
Right,
just
right.
appreciate the social consciousness of it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, not
Right.
much more I could say. It's worth checking out. It's worth checking out.
No problem.
Right, and just to close off the horror triple feature, now we have Malignant, right? This is the
Yes.
newest film from James Wan. Been hearing things
Right.
about it since it came out the day after my birthday, but Ricardo, take it away without spoiling.
Okay,
If we have
so-
to get spoilery, we will, but not in the premise. So, yeah, what it's about?
All right, so this healthcare worker, forget her name. That's let's pull up the Wikipedia.
It is Madison.
Right. Yeah. So the main character, she going through, she going through something strange. She kind of have a abusive family and boyfriend. She life is not the best. Back in the past, she Madison, well, they had to treat they treat this psychiatric character named Gabriel. It's basically the Arkham Asylum, and so Madison now she pregnant, and she living with her husband. The husband kind of shitty, and she started to feel bad about it, and she hit her head, right? And again, she's supposed to be a healthcare worker. This is a kind of weird thing, but she basically, somebody kills her husband, right? And that's how the story start off, with weirdness, and that's basically it. She's attacked and she's unconscious, but she's now in the hospital, and she basically, her baby didn't survive the attack, and then it builds from there. So I don't want to get into any more because everything else is a spoiler. And boy, this is the exact opposite problem that Owl has, which is it's arbitrary as hell, doesn't really focus on what it's supposed to focus on, and it's very schlocky with a high budget, right? This have a budget of $40 million. Study that. And it's schlocky as hell. So yeah, James Wan, what the hell is this? I had fun, but it's really bad. It's so dutish. But I go.
So this is quite interesting here, man, because now we're gonna have another debate similar to all, right? So
Right.
see how you didn't like it for what it was, way. I found myself just admiring it for what it was, way.
Yeah.
On the real seriousness though, I know I should not like this film. I should not enjoy it from just from a storytelling perspective. Just for not so much the
It's
reveal, but just the sort of
it's
we're leaning towards bad movie territory. I know I should enjoy
that's
this
the thing,
though.
right? It no, okay, so here's the problem with this for me. It feels, when you try to intentionally make something schlocky and it don't really work. That's what I didn't like about it. Like, look,
Okay.
James Wan is a person who WB can't tell him man nothing. He literally give them $2 billion franchises, right? Can't go wrong with him, man, right? Man give you Aquaman, he give you the what is Saw,
Conjuring,
which one?
Conjuring.
Conjuring, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, you know me, I'm a horror. But he did that. He gave you some decent Fast and Furious movies. You can't be mad at the man. So he could make the money. So him just getting the freedom to do something weird. That is basically what it is. What's going on with the man now. And so him having the free reign, and that's not like it's too much of a free reign thing, but it not even that great of an idea. That's the problem. And this is a perfect example of somebody not telling you no. Like, holy shit, Jared. I don't know. I might grow to like this film. I have fun in the schlocky sense of the term. It's fun in that sense. Like, if I learn to just not take it too seriously, because I'm not a big horror person. I suppose that is the big problem with it. I'm not a big horror person, so whatever. But the big reveal in the end is like, wow, this is so, like, that what they're going for, boy. This nonsense, boy. Yeah, whatever. That's it. I couldn't get into it. Like, it's schlocky,
Okay.
but I couldn't get into it. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, I totally understand where you're coming from, though, and I've seen
Yeah.
a number of reviews pretty much see the same thing, right? But they will also tell you, like, yeah, this movie is also divisive, right? So there will be people like you. There'll be some fans who will just be like, sorry, fans, right? There'll be some people who just be like, no, but this is schlocky in the worst way. James Wan is better
Yeah.
than this. What is this? What kind of story? What kind of crap? Poorly told story is this? What's going on, right?
Because he's go with multiple, like, it's multiple tones. It's feel like you're watching, I don't know, 3 or 4 different movies, like, mashed together. And none of it gels together. Like, it really feel like three or 4 different movies I'm watching. And none of
Right.
it, like, gels. It doesn't tie together particularly well. Like, if they did, like some of it really works. Like, you see the ending where it feels like, Spider-Man director now.
Or Sam Raimi, sort of like an
Right.
Evil Dead something.
Right, it feels like Evil Dead, well, not Evil Dead, I was thinking of, Evil Dead, right, but, no, who did, so Joss Whedon did, Cabin in the Woods. Like, it felt a little bit like
Right.
Cabin in the Woods. Like, you kind of, they're playing with it, they're jumping around, but it's not really, the way they're doing. But, was the movie that this fella did, gosh,
That
shit,
Drag
Lord
Me
of
to
the Rings
Hell.
director. That Drag Me to Hell, that's what I was thinking of. Something like that. Like, they're trying to be funny, but not that funny. But I get what they're trying to go for. I don't know. It's that. That was I was thinking of. Something like that. Or that horror movie that this fella did, the Head of Lord of the Rings. That fella.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like, I get where you're going for, It just is not fun. Like, if it's funny and they're trying to be subversive, it's work, and I suppose horror fans might like it. But it's not working for me. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, well, I wouldn't call myself the biggest horror fan neither, but I feel like this movie is designed for horror movie lovers, especially people who
Right.
just kind of just want to watch a crazy story just play out, right? And for me, I guess for me, thankfully, I went in without knowing a single thing about what the show's about, right?
Right, yeah. I went
So-
in blind as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just like, all right, what going on? What going on? So I will confess, right? I will confess, first act was kind of rough. But that's just mainly because I just had no clue what was going to happen or why things were happening or why, right? But I was still intrigued. I still wanted to know what this was going to happen, right? And then it slowly starts to reveal things. Like, okay. And then especially when you realize who the villain is, right? Without spoiling anything, right? And it just kept going. Like, all right. I see where you're going, right? You have a nice little moment, a chase scene, if you will, that caught me by surprise. Really dug that. And then, especially in terms of like how the villain in question moves, because I'll say without spoiling, the villain moves in a very very unnatural way though. As one of those things that like on paper, like logically makes no sense at all, right? But when you see it play out, Judd, is like, all right, I know this makes no sense, but it kind of dope. It kind of cool. I like how it looks. Again, it shouldn't make any sense to me at all, but it looks really cool. I'm seeing this with my eyes. Like I'm seeing this on a movie, Judd. I can't believe this, right? And then the third act happens, boy, and I was like, wow, boy, they just went all in, though. And I really appreciate the film for this kind of building things up, Judd. And then, the third act, which I know for sure gonna split audiences, right? Because it'll be like, no, this is too much. It's too loony. It's too bonkers, as people describe it online. But I was just like smiling, just like, wow, but like somebody literally got the money to make something like this, right? And he make it work.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, you find so? Okay, right, okay.
Yeah. So it's a show that I didn't think I would enjoy as much as I did. But I somehow did, Joe. I think it's just really because of how, we could make the argument about, if it's campy or if it's intentionally campy or not, right? You can kind of wonder, well, okay, maybe he's just kind of, just not really, punching below his weight, basically. So he just come up with this random idea and just decides, hey, if I just go with this silly, crazy idea, people will like it, right? You know what I mean? But as you can see, it kind of divide people, right? But again, but it's just how it was played out now, because of how it was built up, and just the execution afterwards, dude. That's when I was like, all right, yeah, this man on this something for this one. So again, this is not gonna be for everyone. I know that. Like even when it ended, and I was like, yeah, I enjoy it. I knew it wasn't gonna be for everyone, right? Even for diehard horror fans, right? But in terms of, all right, here's what this is going to be. Like we're just hanging out with friends, we're just like watching this horror film, and it really does feel like some schlocky 80s film, like say like a Basket Case or Dead Alive from Peter Jackson. I think that was what he was trying to remember, or something like that, right? Where it's this really ridiculous premise though, but it's just an excuse to just show just these really over the top scenes of like violence and gore, and that to me is what this show feels like, right? So, you can make the argument, well, James Wan made better films than this. You know what I mean? Like, even, like, his Fast and Furious movies make more sense than this. But I felt like, hey, it's just like, you know what? I just gonna have a little fun. I just gonna have a little free reign for a bit before I go and make, the films and make the studios happy. Let me just make this one film and you'll have fun with it. If you only like it, you'll like it. If you don't, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So to be fair, what I will say is I do think if it was a bad movie, Drunk Climb, I'd have probably enjoyed this a lot more. To be fair.
Yeah. And speaking of which, like even the dialogue was so clunky and hammy.
Yeah, but I was getting the feeling. I was getting the feeling if I went to see this in Cinemas 8 or whatever, and I had like 2-3 stag with me, and I was lying with some friends, I'd have probably enjoyed this a lot more. But I was watching it late in the night. It was on HBO Max. I watched it, and I was like, really, this what it thing? And I'm by myself, and I'm like, whatever. I feel I had to get a couple beers in me before watching this, so I don't know.
Well, I watched this completely sober, boy, and I would admit it took a while to get into it, because I was just really like, okay, what is going on? This is strange. This is weird. Why? But then as it built up, I was like, okay, and then there's a twist that is that
reveal
that literally was jaw dropping for me, though. Like I was like, wow,
the reveal,
this is where
the reveal. Yeah, the reveal is strange and interesting and so on. Like I think like concept wise, it's a big, weird, schlocky idea. I like it.
And again, logically, it makes no sense. But in terms of movie physics, it would.
Yeah. No, as I said, it's something that again, I'll probably come around on this. I'll probably get again. I'd get a couple beers in there. Sorry to say it. Alcoholism is a problem, kids. But I think I probably would have enjoyed more if that was the case. But whatever. But yeah.
Right. So just to wrap things up, right? I said this on Facebook. This is destined to be a cult classic, right? This is going to be one that people will be divided on. You know what I mean? Now at the time being, while it's up on HBO Max and stuff like that, right? But I have a feeling 5, 10, 15 years from now, people are going to look back probably not gonna love it at all, but they're still gonna be like, there was something about this. There was something about this, something wild and crazy and inventive that we haven't seen in horror in a long while. And I think that's for me. That's why I enjoyed it so much, that because it was wild and it was inventive and it was just something that I haven't seen in horror films before. And because it just went all in on it, like, yeah, we going to make you squirm. We might make you feel like you want to puke here, but at the same time, you're just gonna watch this with jaw on your floor, like, what the hell am I watching? Especially that third act, though, because as dumb as it is, as over the top and silly as it is, I was just like, wow, boy, they did this, and I am so amazed that they made this, and happy actually that they made this too. So yes, it is campy though, and we can debate whether it's intentional or not though. But still, I mean, for what it is, I enjoyed it, but it's really the build up and the execution of it that made it work. 'Cause if they just kind of just went with it one time, I'll just be like, this is stupid. But the build up is what I appreciate too. And I forgot to mention last though, while the dialogue is wonky and acting is spotty in times though, everybody committed, everybody do what they had to do. Also dug the visuals as well too. There's a nice visual effect that they do in terms of seeing what the villain is doing. That's all we'll see. But there are a few times where you could tell, yeah, that's VFX, that's a CG shot. Like why that house, or just a house, that's all I'll see. Why not looking so fake? You know what I mean? So it's like that. But even things like that, you're kind of wondering if it's intentional or not. I don't think so. Or maybe it is. I don't know. But yeah, rating wise though, as I would say this is one of my guilty pleasure movies of the year though. So as a guilty pleasure movie, I'm gonna give this a light, decent 4 out of 5, man. This is gonna be a cult classic for sure, man.
You're right.
So you know what I mean? Like, even if it becomes a cult classic years from now, there will still be people who will go into this for the first time, like, no, this is dumb, this is stupid, this makes no sense, right? But yeah, I mean, it's either or. It's either you enjoy it for how over the top and silly it is, or you just don't like it because it just does nothing for you, right? And that's all I'll say. So yeah, final thoughts on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't get it. It's whether or not the schlocky work for you or not. But yeah, for me, I'll give it like a 5 out of 10, maybe. It just didn't work for me.
All right, I got you. By the way, folks, if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. If you want it, you know what I mean. If it just don't click with you, that's fine. It's teach his own, right? But yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, my issue was that it just didn't like it too. It just felt like a bunch of different films, and none of them really like gel together particularly well. But like I could see if you like it, I get it. It's fine.